So here I am rolling up to my local micro center, and this is what meets you at the door. GPU out of stock. These are some of the GPUs here, 6600s. So today, 2 days after the AMD 6600 launch, I rolled up to my local micro center to see what was going on, and it was actually pretty incredible. There are GPUs in stock. People aren't actually buying them. We're going to talk about why and what the stock situation looks like. And if you're building your PC, you're going to need a Windows key. Remember to check out today's sponsor, cdkdeals.com. Yes, these keys are even going to work in Windows 11 whenever you upgrade to that. Very simple process. If you use my code CC20, you're going to get a nice discount at checkout, and it's going to get rid of that annoying Windows watermark when it's not activated. So check out CDK Deals for your CD key needs, and remember, it will work with Windows 11. Now back to the video. Hey guys, Thiago with Classical Technology. Remember to subscribe and smash that like button if you like content like this on PC hardware and news, different things that are going on in the PC scape. Now, let's talk about my little journey to Micro Center today. I went 2 days after the 6600 launched. That's going to be AMD's new entry-level 1080p GPU, and of course, it had a lot of not so great reviews because of its high price. Now, the performance is fine, I guess, but it really should have been 200 to 250 bucks. It's pretty much competing with GPUs that came out several years ago for much less. That's why people were a little bit disappointed. So I decided to roll into my local micro center. What is going on with the stock situation? So here I am rolling up to my local micro center, and this is what meets you at the door. GPU out of stock. Notice to customers. One per customer every 30 days. If you want to get a GPU, you can buy one every 30 days. They're going to check your license, but it's out of stock. But I do think they have some in the store. We're going to go in and check it out. Now, in a lot of cases, I know people do not have a micro center near them. Only certain states have them, and this is going to be in the US only. So if you're in other states that don't have them or overseas, you're going to be a little bit out of luck. But I found that in many different cases, if Micro Center does have a particular type of product, often maybe Newegg will also have similar, or other places that other people do have access to. And of course, more people do have Best Buys, but those are kind of hit or miss when they have their drops. Sometimes they'll have some GPUs in stock. But anyway, Micro Center is where I go as like my gauge to see what's going on in sort of the, the GPU environment, the PC escape, all those people there you can talk to. For example, I talked to somebody who works there, and I wanted to know, the 6600 came out and I saw a lot on the shelves. Then a bunch of 6600s. That's a lot in stock. Wow. I think this one's like 400 something. 6900 XT. 6900. Like pretty much a crazy amount. Like the shelves were stacked with 6600 AMD GPUs, which, if you guys know, with the current GPU shortage, that's certainly pretty confusing, I could say, because it is going to be the cheapest GPU, even though it's definitely really overpriced. I mean, look at the $499 Asus, AMD 6600. That is obscenely overpriced. That's why the GPU is here. But some of the other ones on the shelves weren't quite that high. They were more in the $400 range. I think maybe one was in like the high 300s. Remember, this is a GPU with an MSRP of $329. So I was curious, and I asked the associate, how many of these do you actually have? Because usually in the GPU launch, these things really fly off the shelves like hotcakes, but it seems like days later, there's still a lot in stock, and I don't really even think they got any new shipments since then. So basically what he told me is they got over 150 cards and maybe only sold like half of them. So basically half is still in stock there. As you could see from this really well-stocked, display case, they had pretty much a decent variety of these GPUs. I'm assuming the really cheap ones, the one that were like 350 bucks or something like that, probably those they sold out during the first day, and the ones that were a little more expensive kind of stayed around. But that shows you that people aren't buying these GPUs at these prices. He also said something that was interesting. He said the 6600 XT, while it's only a little bit more expensive, those sell considerably faster than some of the other AMD GPUs, and he says specifically it seems to be the cryptocurrency miners. I guess it's because of its really high efficiency. It doesn't draw that much power for the type of performance that it puts out. So certainly, considering that most of the stuff on the Nvidia side now is LHR, certainly makes sense that people were going towards that GPU. As overpriced that it may be, it's still less expensive than the other inflated prices that are sort of happening. So the display shelf definitely has a lot of AMD GPUs. Like, there's definitely something wrong here that has to be analyzed, maybe by AMD or the third-party AIBs in the market, because as we go to the Nvidia side, there are some Nvidia GPUs on the shelves, but they're ones that absolutely nobody wants at all, like, you know, a 1050 Ti, a 1030, some like workstation, you know, a Quadro 4000 GPUs. So basically nothing that people want. And I asked what he has in terms of like Nvidia GPUs. Sometimes they'll have something in the back. All they really had was like a 3070 Ti, which is an Asus Strix at around $1,000, which is definitely very expensive. I mean, it's literally like $400 more than the MSRP should be. But it is an Asus Strix, which is generally a little more expensive, and compared to maybe a 6700 XT, which is almost the same price that, you know, these MSRPs have grown to, it's probably not a terrible deal for somebody who wants to game. Even though you're going to be paying more, that's really the reality of the situation. So that's certainly interesting to see. Like, there aren't even very many bad Nvidia GPUs in stock. Those seem to sell pretty much, unless it's a really bad one like the 1050 Ti or something like that, that's really overpriced right now. The other GPUs are pretty much non-existent, but as a big contrast, there are a lot of these AMD GPUs in stock. I've done a few videos on this before. A lot of it, of course, comes down to the much higher price. If we look at some of them, like the 6900 XT, some of these are being sold for well over $2,000, which is literally twice their MSRP. And I don't think gamers or crypto miners quite have the stomach to pay that much more for these GPUs when there are Nvidia GPUs available. And even when the shelves are pretty much empty of high-end Nvidia GPUs, pretty much these stay on the shelves. People just don't buy them. I guess the price to performance ratio has passed a certain threshold where they're just not attractive. So that's really going to be the main point here. There is a point where people just won't buy a GPU. You could say, oh, there's a massive GPU shortage, which is very true. And you could also say, okay, the manufacturers are going to charge more for their GPUs, which is also very true and has really rapidly been happening. It's not even like creeping up. It's really like slam, much more expensive GPUs. I mean, look at all the prices that are on the shelves. Nothing here is near the original MSRP. So while everything like that is true, where we encounter a problem is when the GPU really isn't appealing enough to either the gamer or the crypto miner, the two groups that are buying these GPUs. Because trust me, no scalper is going to buy at these prices just because they're already extremely inflated. They're pretty much the price that you're going to pay a scalper anyway. So these GPUs have certainly passed a certain threshold where people flat out won't buy them, regardless if you're a crypto miner, gamer, or the scalper. Of course, the scalper needs to have the lowest possible MSRP because that's really all they're doing. They're just flipping the GPU. So they want to pick up something like from Best Buy from like a $699 3080. That's going to be sweet for a scalper. He'll turn around and sell that for $1,800 to $2,000 with today's prices. If he goes and buys a 3070 Ti for $1,000, he's lucky if he's going to get maybe 50 or $100 more, and after shipping or fees, pretty much not worth it. So that's why these pretty much stay on the shelves. The second group, the gamers, often they're just going to be looking for maybe one GPU. At these prices, gamers still kind of favor Nvidia. So if they can't get their 3080 or their 3060, they're going to look at the 6600 XT or 6700 XT and maybe think twice about it because of the really high price. AMD is doing a lot better this generation. Don't get me wrong. They're staying very competitive in terms of the actual performance with Nvidia. But at the end of the day, Nvidia still has the mind share of gamers. AMD has done that with their CPUs, but they're not there yet with the GPUs. But even there, really technically, Nvidia still beats them because you have ray tracing and DLSS. You have certain things where if you really want to push your games, Nvidia still is where you're going to go, regardless if the 6900 XT does compete on the high end very well, and even the other GPUs, Nvidia still has that heads up. So when it comes down to it and the gamer sort of looks at that, they're going to want to either wait for something else to pop up or wait for these prices to go down. And of course, the same is true with the crypto miners. While they don't necessarily have like a brand preference, they really want the GPU GPU that's going to give them the best return, the most efficiency, the higher profits. Generally, that has been Nvidia. They're generally a little easier to set up compared to AMD, but some AMD GPUs definitely have been doing a little better lately with that particular crowd. Stuff like the 6600 XT that we mentioned before because of its efficiency, but something like a 6900 XT makes no sense. It has the same performance as like a 6800 for a much higher price. So that's all due to that memory bandwidth compared to some of the other Nvidia GPUs. So if you were looking at this from a business perspective, there are a lot of GPUs on the shelves that they really would rather sell. I mean, that's the point of the business. Everybody from Micro Center down to the AIBs, down to AMD itself, during a massive GPU shortage where everything pretty much gets sold instantly. Why are these GPUs here in plentiful stock? It's especially in a very highly populated area like where this micro center is, and that many micro centers are located. So you just have to say, all right, maybe people's brand appeal isn't as much for the AMD side. They have to lower these prices. They can't charge the same premium prices as Nvidia does. If they think they're going to get away with that, the proof is here in the pudding. Pretty much these GPUs are on the shelves 2 days after a fresh release during a GPU shortage. And that pretty much tells you everything that you need to know, regardless if it does perform well at 1080p and whatever it is. The price is just too high for what they're selling, and even during the GPU shortage, these will continue to stay on the shelves unless the prices become a lot more reasonable. So in summary, definitely was a little bit of a fun fact-finding trip to see exactly what's going on with stock and availability. I was actually surprised to see so many 6600s on the shelf still. I thought it would have been a couple and not literally half the amount that they got in. So that shows you the problem that's definitely going on here now. And if these companies think they can raise prices with, the next generations, and if something happens with crypto mining where there's a GPU price crash, I think at the end of the day, they're going to have a lot more trouble than they really intended trying to take advantage with these very high prices. So I think hopefully they come to their senses and sort of balance these prices out a little bit, because really at the end of the day, the GPU shortage will eventually fade and people are going to be left with a sour taste. Maybe they remember looking at these shelves full of maybe AMD GPUs or even the higher priced Nvidia GPUs and think, okay, now that I have my choice of GPU to buy, I'm not going to buy this particular brand or that particular brand. So it's something they have to keep in mind. Just because it's a tough market right now doesn't mean the companies should take advantage of the gamers, because in another year or two, when things are hopefully more back to normal, they're going to need these same gamers to really be on their side. And the best way to do that is to do more consumer-friendly practices, including lower prices, especially when things are the toughest. All right, guys, so let me know what you think about the current stock situation. Were you surprised to see these many GPUs still in stock during the shortage? Let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys on the next video.